Hand washing is critical to food safety. Feces from humans or animals is a common source of bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli 0157, and norovirus that cause diarrhea. These kinds of bacteria and viruses can get into hands after using this toilet or in less obvious ways, like after handling raw meats that have invisible high amounts of animal feces. A single gram of human feces, which is about the weight of a paperclip, can contain 1 trillion bacterial cells. Bacteria can also get onto your hands if you touch an object that has bacteria on it, because someone has coughed or sneezed on it or was touched by some other contaminated object. When these germs get onto hands and are not washed off, they can be passed from person to person and make people sick. When should one wash their hands? After raw and ready-to-eat food preparation, before, during and after food preparation, cleaning tasks, entering and exiting the kitchen, after blowing your nose, coughing or sneezing, after touching garbage, and most importantly after using the ablution facilities. Creating awareness about hand washing is really non-negotiable. One of the biggest causes of food poisoning in the kitchen and at home are hands that are contaminated with harmful bacteria. Kitchen hygiene consultants are mainly concerned with 2 types of bacteria, E. coli and Staphylococcus aureus. These bacteria are known as indicator organisms that will alert us to unhygienic practices. This being the case because E. coli occurs naturally in the human gut and tells us that the possibility of unwashed hands after using the ablution facilities has taken place. S. aureus can occur naturally in the nasal passages and also indicates unhygienic practices. These bacteria can also occur as a result of handling raw materials or live on the skin of a person without harm. So how to wash your hands in a hygienic manner? Clear off any excess food or dirt by rinsing under water. Use a liquid hand soap and thoroughly wash your entire hand and forearm. Rinse under warm water and dry your hands with paper towel. Dispose of the paper towel in a pedal bin and apply an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Any kind of soap will get your hands clean, but there are a few special concerns in the food preparation environment. Liquid hand soaps in a pump dispenser work best. That way you don't have to have a bar of soap lingering around in a pool of moisture. Also, soaps used for this purpose ought to be very mild to prevent chapping and without a lot of added ingredients that could end up in the food supply. For some, washing hands on a frequent basis can seem like a big annoyance, and the convenience of a hand sanitizer can be misleading. Although these hand sanitizer gels may be convenient and appropriate in certain situations, they are not acceptable as the sole use for clean hands. There are several reasons for this. Raw meats are usually fatty and have a high bacterial load. This means that you need to physically remove the fat before sanitizer can be used. Any dirt or soily substance allows bacteria to hide on your hands. This is why soap is needed first. Another reason why hand sanitizers cannot replace hand washing in food service has to do with the type of germs you're trying to kill. Alcohol is good at killing the kinds of germs that cause colds and flus, but the kinds of germs that make people sick in restaurants are the types that thrive in fatty, sugary environments. These are usually transmitted by the fecal-oral route, and hand washing is still the only proven method to kill these bacteria. The best method is to use hand soap and a sanitizer together to help eliminate any possible chance of contamination. How personal hygiene affects food safety. There are additional areas of personal hygiene to consider other than hand washing alone. Personal hygiene. These include requirements that fingernails must be kept short and clean, jewelry should be discouraged due to crevices where dirt and food can collect, the correct safety uniforms be worn, uniforms are clean and washed or changed on a daily basis, head covering is worn and covers all hair, even if you are bald, head covering must be worn to prevent sweat buildup. Controls should also be put into place to ensure that the actual washing of uniforms is done correctly. Usually this means that the facility should take the responsibility of washing or should be appropriately outsourced. 5 reasons why hand washing is so important. The bacteria on your hands from cross-contamination can make people sick and cause food poisoning. You unknowingly touch your face, nose and ears, which can cause cross-contamination. Hand washing reduces the risk of various diseases. Bacteria are microscopic and cannot be seen by the naked eye. Hepatitis A, an infection of the liver caused by hepatitis A virus, is spread by putting something in your mouth that is contaminated with the virus. The use of gloves in the kitchen is a controversial debate in the food safety industry. The trend in the industry has been to encourage the use of gloves in the kitchen for the handling of ready-to-eat foods. This is in an effort to prevent potential cross-contamination during handling. We believe that gloves can be used, however should be of limited use. Why is the use of gloves in the kitchen being encouraged? The perception is that gloves are more hygienic than bare hands touching ready-to-eat foods. This can be true if the food handler does not wash their hands between tasks. This is somewhat misleading because the food handler actually needs to wash their hands twice, before and after gloves. And food handlers should be washing their hands in any case regardless of glove usage or not. The major reason for the use of gloves is public perception. The customer seems to feel more at ease when gloves are used, rather than the other way around. A study conducted showed that 85% of customers who observed gloved workers felt that this was more hygienic. So what are the benefits for the use of gloves in the kitchen? The use of gloves creates an extra layer over bare hands from pathogenic organisms, adds an additional protection when a food handler cuts their fingers, and protects sensitive hands, as well as improves hand grip. So what are the problems with glove usage? There is no scientific evidence that proves glove usage is better than hand washing, especially in the prevention of cross-contamination. The reality is that gloves give you a false sense of cleanliness. You cannot feel dirt or greasiness on a gloved hand, which means that you would change your gloves less often than you would wash dirty hands. The next concern is that gloves are not changed often enough to show any benefits in preventing cross-contamination. This also means food handlers also do not follow a proper glove policy and usually don't have the correct size glove for a variety of hands. Hands actually need to be washed before putting a glove on and after taking a glove off. So, in an industry where normal hand washing is still a problem, this creates additional steps in a system already at strain. One has to wonder why the idea of gloves became so popular. One of the concerns seen in the food service industry is that hand washing basins are hidden from public view and you never actually see a chef wash their hands. It is almost as if hand washing whilst handling food is an embarrassing practice. Consider public restrooms. If you see someone walk right past the hand washing basin without washing their hands, you see them as being unhygienic. We teach our children the importance of hand washing and the prevention of spreading germs. So why then do we look down on visible hand washing in a kitchen environment? Chefs and kitchen managers always complain that the number one problem when it comes to food safety training in the kitchen is how often hands should be washed. We know that proper hand washing and good personal hygiene is the only way to ensure safety from cross-contamination from food handlers. Yet gloves are important in the following instances. When a chef cuts a finger, a plaster and glove should be used. Handling raw meats in an effort to minimize the bacterial load. There are no other benefits to the use of gloves in the kitchen. The only possible exception for gloves in the kitchen is for delis and the like, where a case may be made for the very thin, completely disposable clear plastic gloves, which are religiously discarded after use. So what are the disadvantages of wearing gloves? Contamination from gloves themselves can cause cross-contamination if the glove has touched any other surface. It can create the illusion of false security in the mind of the food handler. They are not changed frequently enough. Increases business costs to gloves and additional unnecessary hand washing. Are incorrectly or inappropriately used. If we haven't convinced you, below are the guidelines to proper glove usage in the kitchen. Hands must be washed and dried thoroughly before wearing gloves, when changing to a new pair of gloves, after removing the gloves, and a new pair of gloves must be worn when changing tasks, example when moving to a new workstation, after handling raw meats, before handling ready-to-eat foods such as sandwiches, and after cleaning duties, etc. After covering mouth during sneezing or coughing, blowing your nose, or touching hair. Again, hands must be washed after gloves have been removed, as frequently as possible. A pair of gloves should not be worn for more than 4 hours. Prolonged use of a single pair of gloves can result in excessive perspiration on the hands, which provides ideal conditions for bacterial growth on the skin. Gloves are also more likely to leak or tear if worn for extended periods. Disposable gloves should only be used once. Durable, reusable gloves must be washed and sanitized between tasks and stored carefully after removal to prevent contamination. Gloves should always be worn by employees who have cuts, sores or rashes on their hands, who wear orthopedic support devices on their hands that cannot be adequately cleaned, such as casts and braces, who wear artificial or fingernail polish, although in terms of personal hygiene this should never be the case.